Story 1. Ran about his ex, her cheating, and his subsequent mental illness. 7 years ago, today he went to bed with nothing but a bad gut feeling. He had no proof to definitively show that his wife was having an affair. He was stirred up inside with turmoil from every direction as she lied and lied about everything. She was not, in fact, working longer hours to make more money since he was off work after a surgery. She was not, in fact, having him painfully drive to pick up their 2-year-old from daycare and attempt to watch her when he could barely move because of work. As he would find out in the coming hours and days, she was having an affair for the past 6-ish months and decided that she cared more about the AP than about him. His life changed so drastically so fast. They tried to make it work. She ended up pregnant. He's still not 100% that she is biologically his, but she is most certainly his daughter. He ended up having a nervous breakdown and spending time in a psych ward. They got back together after the baby was born, and it lasted all of 6 months before he tried to delete himself. Then she started seeing another guy a few months later, and that was the end. He couldn't take it anymore, and they actually divorced this time. They went their separate ways, and it was the hardest thing he has ever had to do. He spent a little more time in the psych ward because of the depression. He was a wreck. In some ways he still is. This event was his triggering event to set him off on a path that he can never come back from. He always had depression issues, but this was different. He had mania. He had hallucinations and delusions. It was awful. He was told at the time it was bipolar disorder. That was rough. Overall, they pretty much hate each other, but they fake it for the kids. They are still too young to understand any of the adult reasons that they split, and the youngest will never remember her family being whole. That's pretty sad to him. Now here he is 7 years later and still in a dark spot. Nothing to do with the ex. She has her life and he has his, but darn does he miss doing life with somebody. He is not in a place that he could maintain a relationship, but he misses being in one. His diagnosis has changed to schizoaffective bipolar type, and the stigma that comes with that word is so burdening that the only people that know are his family, like 2 friends and many internet strangers. This time of year is a SHT storm for him, and it is hard to do normal activities of daily living. He doesn't like getting out of bed. He doesn't like being vertical. He doesn't like anything that keeps him from acting the way that he feels inside. He wallows. It's pathetic. He still feels sorry for himself that he had his life ripped apart, and then became severely more mentally ill than he had ever been. He'll never be normal again because of the collaboration between his genetics and stressful environment. To be completely honest, he's not sure why he is writing this. He's guessing and hoped it would be cathartic for his soul, but it's not. He sees failure after failure and doesn't see anything positive. He is still rough around the edges 7 years later, and still hurts that she destroyed his self-esteem before leaving, telling him he's not attractive, telling him AP was better in bed, telling him he's too fat, telling him she cared more about the AP than him. A 6-month relationship was worth more than the 11 years they had been together. Whatever. Honestly, he doesn't know what to do with his emotions where he's at today. He feels upside down from what used to be normal. He can't work anymore because of the hallucinations and depression. It's terrible. His life sucks now. Don't get cheated on, people. It'll ruin your whole life. Sorry for the rant. TLDR is that cheating sucks, divorce sucks, and mental illness sucks. Read or comment. Let's skip to your last statement. It'll ruin your life. It'll ruin it if you let it. You're actively allowing this traumatic event to grip and control you. You're living life as a victim. Was it traumatic? Absolutely. Does it suck? Absolutely. Could things be worse? Absolutely. Does that change anything? No. You need to change your mindset and take life by the horns. You need to use this event to build you, not break you. Life is so much more than relationships and physical intimacy. Turn your sorrow into anger. Let it drive and push you to better things. Get that better job, get that raise, get that 6-pack, get that house and car you want. Get and do the things that make you happy. You only have one person in this world that you can always rely on, and that's yourself. Be there for you, get the work done, or continue down this path and live in misery. Godspeed. Original poster. Opus feels you're not wrong. Although the severe mental health problems make this seem insurmountable. He tries little bits every day, and some days are better than others, but overall, he's been depressed for about 7 years straight minus a few manic times and a few stable times. Most of it has been depressed with hallucinations and delusions. That makes getting over the even hard because the event truly altered the course of his life. He's trying though. Thanks for the encouragement to not stop trying. Reader comment. If you're really worrying about this, my 2 cents are removing all drugs and alcohol from your life and call your dog sooner rather than later. It can take a long time to find solid treatment options and a good therapist. Start as soon as you can. BTW. It's completely normal to have stress-induced sleep issues, and even hallucinations are pretty common. Don't jump to schizophrenia just yet. Be smart and start with removing things that alter your mind and go from there. Original poster. Opus is trying, but he's still on a cycle where he doesn't eat and sleep for days. Eat like it's his last meal, then crash hard for at least half a day and it starts all over again. He can't turn his mind off as much as he tries. It sucks, bro. Story 2. Cheating wife got dumped by AP after she destroyed her whole life and family for him. AP then made her his side chick. It has been a while since he posted here, and he figured he'd share an update with everyone here since this community was very supportive of him when his life was first turned upside down. Well, where to start? Looking back, last time he posted here, his wife was on a week-long vacation in Myrtle Beach with her AP, while he was left at home taking care of their son alone. Honestly, this wasn't much different than how things were before, as she was not often around and working or clearly doing other things as well. So he's home with their son and just horribly depressed, destroyed, and not sure how to pick up the pieces and move on. He started drinking a lot, smoking MJ, and various other things to try to cope with the unraveling of his universe. Honestly, looking back, he should have probably sent his son to stay with his parents for a while, because there were definitely entire days in which he never got out of bed, only to basically feed his son and make sure he was okay. He also contemplated just ending things entirely, but it never really got to the point of action, just merely imagining a world where he was no longer in it. And if it wasn't for his son, he may have considered it more seriously, but he would never leave him alone in this world. Skip forward to when his ex finally returns from her trip. His grandmother had messaged him the day before asking to come up to their house to visit with all of them, as they had just recently returned from their annual summer stay in Florida, and she had only been to their home once since he bought it almost 2 years ago. So, he told her that her and his grandfather were welcome to come, knowing his ex would be back that day as well. He had decided in all of his time in seclusion and thinking that the way he was going to handle things with his friends and family was to inform them that his wife and himself were separating, but that it was something they both wanted, and not divulge the truth of the infidelity. The reason for this was because 1, it was awkward to discuss and he didn't want to, but mainly 2, he didn't want his family to treat his ex any differently, as he knew she was still going to be a big part of his son's life and they were going to have to interact with her on numerous occasions. Essentially, he didn't want their son to suffer not having some of his family around for holidays and his birthday because of this unfortunate situation. He discussed this with his ex beforehand, and when his grandparents came, they actually pretended that nothing was even going on out of the ordinary at that time. They were not quite ready to announce the separation quite yet. However, it was still up in the air how the living situation was going to work. Before she left for Myrtle Beach in early June, they had discussed her still living with him in the family home throughout June and July, as she had nowhere to go. At the time, he honestly was fighting for her to stay and choose him and not go through with the separation, so he was more than glad to have her live with him for 2 more months. Well, her deciding to leave on the vacation with AP, coupled with advice from family, this community and therapy, finally woke him up to the fact that there was no saving them and he needed to get her out of his life. So when she did return, he told her he wanted to have a serious conversation with her that night, and he built a fire and they drank, and he told her everything he was feeling and that he just needed her to move out. She was surprised by this but understood, so the next day she asked AP what to do when her and AP ended up moving into his parents' basement and lived on a blow-up mattress for 2 months until her cousin moved out of her dad's house. Through all of this, the only person in the world besides his wayward ex, and he that knew the full truth, was his sister. He had divulged everything to her, and made her swear not to tell their parents or the rest of the family the true reason for the separation. And she did keep the promise, but she promised to be civil towards his ex for the sake of his son. Ironically, it was on Father's Day that they both went to visit his parents and give his father a gift, and that is when they told them about their separation. His mom was more shocked than anything, his dad was a bit, but since they framed it as it was a mutual decision that they both wanted, He was more or less happy that they were making a change so they would both be happy. About a week later, they both crafted an identical post for Facebook and tagged each other, basically signaling to their friends, extended family, and the world that their relationship of 15 years was ending, but on amicable terms. Again, he was adamant that he did not want the details of the cheating to be known for his own reasons. His ex obviously didn't either, but she assumed he would tell people that he wanted and didn't try to stop him if he wanted to. One of the reasons his ex wanted to announce it so early on Facebook was that she wanted there be an acceptable amount of time between then and when she started posting pictures and things with her new boyfriend to not make it seem like the relationship had been going on the whole time. Yes, that is obviously shady, but he honestly didn't care what she did at that point. He had gotten into therapy and was working out and working on himself and focusing on his son. He honestly got to the point where he just wanted to be done with her altogether and just move on with his life. Their son had his birthday party at the end of July, and a lot of family from both sides were there, and everything was fine with no issues, not awkward or anything, which was great. One of the hardest parts was having to explain to their son that his parents were separating and what that was going to mean for him. He was already fairly used to his ex not being around all that much because of work. He was a little bit confused as to what it all meant at first and then a little sad. But in the end, they told him that it wasn't a bad thing because it was what they both wanted and it was going to make everyone happy, and that eventually one of them could have a new BF or GF and it would be normal and okay if that happened. He was fine with that and was even making jokes at one point, and he has been mostly fine since. It is amazing how little this seems to have affected him to this point, mainly because they tried very hard to still have family gatherings and get together to make things seem normal as possible. They do not currently have a legal agreement for custody or anything in place, but they have been sticking to their verbal agreement for about 6 months now, which is he has sole custody of their son, but he goes to stay with his ex and her dad every other weekend. His ex also comes up to the family home to have dinner with them once or twice a week to preserve that sense of normalcy. Throughout the fall, they did fall events together as a family. The three of them went trick-or-treating together on Halloween. Things have been relatively the same for their son and he has been happy. He is still pretty close with his ex. They both consider themselves good friends and they still talk every day about things, usually to do with their son but also other random stuff. She will vent about her relationship sometimes and they will talk about their jobs and families, just strictly platonic stuff, which is weird but definitely healthy. As far as his ex's relationship with AP, they lived together for about 2 months in his parents' basement until they then moved into her dad's house. Opus volunteered to help her move all her stuff out of the family home as a gesture of good faith, and he drove it up there in his car. Opus's wayward wife and her AP lived at her dad's together for a few weeks until AP essentially freaked out and realized he had made a mistake moving out of his apartment and essentially moved back out and in with his ex-GF, which devastated Opus's wayward wife. Wayward wife was very bitter for a while because of this. She destroyed her whole life and family for her AP and he left her just like that. It was horrible timing too, because just as their relationship was falling apart, Opus had to tell his wayward wife that he has started seeing someone new, which caused a lot of tension at first. More on that in a moment. Long story short, wayward wife is still living with her dad. AP had to beg his landlord to re-up his lease because he let it lapse to move in with his ex, and then he moved back to his old place with his ex-GF. After a few weeks of no contact between AP and Wayward, Wayward finally reached back out and Opus guessed they worked on some things. So they are currently in some type of weird throuple situation, but AP is still living with his ex-GF who loves him, but he just wants to be rid of her but won't evict her. To this day, Opus has still never met AP and AP has never met their son, and since Wayward and AP are currently on good terms, she's okay now with him being in a new relationship. As for that, Opus met a girl at the end of July and they have been going steady ever since. They are both very happy together and are exclusive to one another, but they are taking it very slowly to start as they both came out of failed long-term relationships. Wayward X met Opus' new GF once a few weeks ago and they really hit it off and they are friends on Facebook, and they communicate from time to time on them via posts and things. He doesn't plan to introduce her to his son until they have been together for about 6 months, which will be after all the holidays, just to further preserve the status quo dynamic for a little longer. She does not have kids but has already told him she is eager to meet him, and if they become a longer-term thing, she would be happy to become part of their family and help care for him as one of her own if that is what he wanted. Christmas is coming up in a few weeks and their plan is to just do things as normal as possible. Opus's Wayward X and her dad will come up on Christmas Eve and spend the night in the family home, and they will all do Christmas morning together and hang out until the afternoon, And then he will take his son to his parents and see his sister and enjoy the rest of the day that way. Opus's wayward ex-dad and himself still get along great together. He still calls him his son and he sees him as his father 100%. Her dad still holds out hope they will be back together, because he has known Opus for 16 years and has always really liked him. They get together on weekends sometimes to watch football. Well, that is his story to this point. He never could have imagined 6 months ago that he would be the happiest he has been in many, many years. Opus loved his wife and they had a good relationship for many years in a decent marriage and they raised a beautiful son, but at the end of the day as they grew older, they realized that they just got together too young and they were just too different of people. The last few years of marriage they were more like roommates and were barely intimate and both unhappy. His ex did a horrible thing by cheating for almost 5 years and did other horrible things, but ultimately, he is not the type of person to hold on to hatred in his heart. He knows she deserves no mercy or sympathy from him, and her now effed up relationship with AP is probably her karma for the things she's done, and she says that all the time. But he has made peace with what has happened, and he is just moving on with his life. And once he lets go of all that pain of the past, he was able to open himself up to a bright new future that he never dreamed he could have. They have decided to officially go through a non-contested divorce after the holidays and her birthday are over, so sometime in late January. They have already separated the assets and discussed most things, and have agreed that the custody arrangement won't change. There are a few financial things that may be sticking points as originally she said she wouldn't try to get money for the house or other things, but now she is flat broke so she is changing her tune a bit on certain things. If it comes to it, he has already engaged with a lawyer, but neither of them thinks it will get to that point. But wait for an update in a few months for those who care lol. Is there a part of him that wishes he could have said happy future with his wife and the mother of his child? Of course, but that is not the hand he was dealt and he is happy to move on and let go if it means being truly happy, and his current partner is significantly more compatible, emotionally, physically, romantically, physical intimacy, everything has been almost too good to be true. He just wanted to let people know that he thanks them for their earlier advice and sharing their experiences, and he wanted to do the same and let people know that there can be hope after absolute tragedy, and he wishes that for everyone. Happy holidays everyone. Reader comment: it's impressive how much you give whole receiving so little in return, but if you definite it as happy, who are we to judge? We can already see that your GF will turn out to be a better mother than your son's actual mom. What a toxic shitshow she is. Original poster Opus thanks you for your comment. Yes, she has had her issues to say the least, but through all this she is actually becoming a lot better parent to their son, at least when she sees him. Few silver linings he supposes. Reader comment: Opus, you're a good man with a good heart. I'm glad you're doing well. Original poster: thank you and please take care of yourself. Happy holidays. Story 3: she only quit cheating because she was pregnant. He has known the entire time that his wife cheated online until the day she found out that they were pregnant in September of 2017. She is consistently lying, saying that she stopped in 2016 long before she knew she was pregnant. She said she stopped because she loved him. She said she stopped because she realized from other people how good of a husband he was and how good of a father he was. Well, turns out she lied, not a big surprise to be honest. She finally admitted after he proved to her with her Facebook data that she was still cheating online in September of 2017, and it stopped after she got a positive pregnancy test. She still tried to say that she quit because she loved him and not just because she was pregnant. After hours of questioning and going through her data with her, she finally admitted that yes, she only quit because she was pregnant and she did not want to be in a situation where they might have to split custody, or even worse, she may not have custody. She quit because he's a good provider and they now had 2 offspring to take care of. He doesn't understand why in the world a wayward would continue to lie about something like this when the truth is so obvious. Can they not understand that the fact that they are still lying to us all these years later makes us feel like they are still lying to us about things they're probably doing right now? If you would lie about anything, then you will lie about everything. What was so scary for her about telling him that she wouldn't admit the truth? Of all the crap that she did, that she really think that admitting she only quit because she was pregnant was going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. If anything breaks the camel's back, it's going to be the fear that he will never get the truth from her and therefore, he will never be safe, because the minute she sees something that she thinks she can get away with, then she'll try it. She still tries to hold on to the lie that she would never have cheated in person. She admits that she believed that if he had called her sending self-pleasure videos and nudes to other men, that he would have absolutely divorced her with no questions asked. For some reason, even though she would do something that would end in divorce, she says she wouldn't have cheated physically. Like that's some moral boundary she just can't bring herself to cross whenever she's already destroyed every other boundary. Any small amount of trust that may have been rebuilt over the past year and 9 months has been completely destroyed. The fact that she would continue to lie to him after seeing him suffer and puke blood and drop 100 pounds, and lose interest in life and work and everything else that goes along with his body-keeping score, is absolutely terrifying and absolute proof that she will never value his safety above her own selfishness. Rather, it's her seeking pleasure or her defending her fragile damned ego. She will always choose herself. If she is being faithful to him at all, then it is only because of 100% mate guarding. Since he dropped weight and improved his career, he's had many women notice him, and some of them were very overt about what they wanted. Some of them went so far as to tell her that they were jealous of her. He has to wonder what will happen if he ever has an illness. What if he puts on a few extra pounds? Will she go back to cheating again? Probably. He loves his wife. He wants to believe her. She is just making it impossible. Is there any way to get them to stop the damn lying? Everything she was asked on the polygraph came back as true, and that has been borne out in her Facebook data. Maybe he just needs to put his polygraph examiner on retainer. Really sucks to have to strap her into a chair every time he needs the truth out of her. What kind of life is this anyway? If it weren't for his children, he would not be here. He knows people say don't stay for your children, but he also knows that most people do. They don't stay so that their wayward spouse can take more pot shots at them. They stay because they love their children and can't bear to see them in a broken home. Now let's get some reaction from the comment section. Reader comment. This is the worst nightmare for any BS. I am so sorry, Opus. And now you don't know if she is really faithful or is she just waiting for you to get tired and do it again. I wish you find peace. Original poster. Opus feels thankful. He just doesn't understand why she continues to omit and lie when he has continued to uncover the lies. He could think that she would be living in a ball of anxiety. How could she not see that she is much better off just telling him everything she ever lied about so they can get it over with all at once? Reader comment. Because you're still around and she figures she'll deal with it when you do. It's like a battle. Instead of fighting one huge battle where she may not survive, she's dividing it into smaller battles. Sort of like a war of attrition. Original poster. He agrees. The problem may come whenever he got tired of all the little battles but decide that he still wants to be married to her. At that point there's a strong possibility of him breaking out the nuclear weapons. The only time she has ever shown real empathy is when she's been forced to listen and imagine what she did to him being done to her by him. He would really hate to think that in order for her to understand how important it is for her to tell the whole truth, that he would have to be unfaithful to her and then trickle truth her about it. He wouldn't even consider revenge at this point. It would be about teaching her empathy. Of course, he doesn't want to ever cheat. But who knows what might happen if he continues to uncover lies after lies after lies. He won't let his children grow up in a home where every few months their father goes through depression. He would rather get it all over with so that it could be dealt with. They can't even start to rebuild a relationship until the last lie has been told. That relationship isn't built on trust. It's not worth building.